One of the most important things when we play aggressive in Age of Empires 4 is map control. Everyone thinks of map control as, oh, I'm pushing my opponent and I can just gather everywhere. That's kind of cool and everything, but as you get higher up in the ranks, people start raiding more and more. And we need to figure out how can we best end games by denying resources, and how do we best keep our economy safe when we are doing that. When we're not at home and we're not building 1,000 walls and towers, how do we best use our army defensively and offensively? So what I'm going to show you today is a pretty simple game from some practice sessions that I did with a student of mine. And we are going to take a look at how this matchup can be turned on its head by just playing Rest of Nile. So what's going to happen in this game is HOL, House of Lancaster. Most people conceptualize them as a very sit-back, kind of passive civ. I think they're great for aggression because you start off with 200 wood and you have this great potential early on to do a nice fast rush. So we can build the barracks extremely quickly. With that racks, we can then start to do some aggression. We can cut the gold from the French player. And we even saw this kind of build a lot in the LAN, where players would go for early aggression against French. What I found when I was watching those games was they were all kind of losing because they went for manors and fast castle. But you don't need to. You can use spears and oblars to great effect. So what am I doing here? Well, I'm building house, racks, gathering some wood with 2 villas. Very simple and smooth build. Pulling a vill, and then spears, making a few more, and then I pull some more villagers onto wood so I can afford a tower. So what I'm scouting for right now is, of course, sheep. I'm just running my scouting route, so you can check that video out as well. You can check out how I scout. I released it not too long ago. Here, I'm just checking, okay, where does he have gold? I need to know all the locations that there are gold in this game, because the way that French and any other civ that needs gold goes about getting gold access to make knights is they lose their main gold with the tower. That's our purpose here. We want to displace them. And in doing so, we make it easier for ourselves to cut off food and gold in other positions. So when you tower rush Byzantines, when you tower rush a French player, you're pushing them away from their safe main resource, gold or berries, and then it's easier for you to attack an exposed resource like this berry, this gold over here. Way easier for you. So you're looking for food, whether deers, berries, gold, and do they have a front or back wood line? So that's really important. Pay attention to the map. Pay attention to your map as well, because we're going to talk about this a little bit later when it becomes relevant. You're going to be aggressive a lot, so it's not going to be super relevant in the early game to think too much about defense, as you will be attacking more when you do this type of build. But think later about how your resources are laid out as well. It's a lot easier to play narrow. That's why Pro Scouts is so easy and so effective than it is to play wide, which is why trading is so hard to do. Okay, so now we're scouting around the map. And in doing so, we find the gold. And our opponent already pulled extra villas to the gold so they can get enough for what looks like a wheelbarrow, maybe Pro Scouts, and of course, to get Feudal Age. We see that both of the deer packs here are kind of to the front. We can't cover the deer packs with a tower, but we can cover the direction that they're in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to build the tower here in the gold. We're going to range the gold with the tower and then upgrade it in the Feudal Age. So we built the tower here, and then we kind of see into the wood line, which is nice. And we are covering this gold vein, which means our opponent has to go for either this gold, which is not really going to be possible when there is a tower in the front. So this one's kind of nice. We're covering this deer pack and this gold. He has to go for the back gold. So when he's going to go for the back gold, we can then raid that with oblars. But in general, it's just a nice delay. It's not as easy to deal with a back gold like this. And then let's say his second gold was in this area. Then it's much harder for the French player. So that's also why I picked this replay, because, well, what do you do in that situation where your opponent has a nice gold bomb? A second gold that's much more defensible. Because it's obvious if you have 2 or 3 front golds and they're all behind the tower, then it's a pretty easy game. You're just fighting wood units now, no knights. So right, we're getting the tower up, and then we're just focusing on getting our own Feudal Age after. So we're going to speed up a little bit here. Get the tower up. I recommend building between 3 and 5 spears. If you want a faster feudal timing, get fewer spears, just 3 is enough. But if you absolutely want to, make sure that you don't lose your tower, then build more spears. Get up to 5, and then just get that tower filled up. Okay, so now we're Hing up, and we're going to go with Abbey of Kings, because we are going to play a very aggressive game here. We've identified the opponent's resources are really exposed, some of them. And if our opponent runs out of food, they can't get the deer if we make units. Now to deal with healing, we're going to go Abbey of Kings, so we can heal our own units. And yeah, this is kind of akin to what we saw Anderson was doing here not too long ago. This is a practice game, so I'm giving my opponent a few sheep. Okay, so tower goes up, gold, wood. We are gonna go into a little bit of stone because we want to fortify our tower so that our opponent doesn't just burn it. I overgather a bit of stone, makes it manners later, but that's besides the point. Then I'm gonna get up to feudal. I'm gonna make a stable. So I just make a stable instantly. I've pre-gathered the wood. I make 2 of them. I see my opponent has an archer, so that's perfect. It's a good answer. I would not make like archers or anything here. It's too expensive to make yeomen. So you can kind of die if you make the wrong units. You have to make some units that make sense. In the meantime, I send my lord, who's coming out of this, to go and take out these deer, and I'm using my scout to take some of these deer out. Ideally, you kill all the deer on the map, so that your opponent can't right-click the deer through the fog of war. But yeah. So right now, my economy is quite spread out. I have my woodline in the back, my stone over here. I have gold in the front. And so if I start to get raided now, it will be a little bit of an issue. But that's not going to happen because we cut gold. Now he's going to be on the second gold. He can start to make knights pretty soon. We see the archer range. And now we have everything we need to get arrow slits, all those things. We're making obolars, and we're making more spearmen. I'm going to upgrade the spearmen a little bit later. And we just see our opponent here. He has a bunch of archers, so this is amazing for us. The main goal for our opponent right now, we know this. He needs to secure the next source of food. And if he runs out of gold, that's going to be a pretty tough one as well. So he needs to secure resources. He needs to stay in feudal for as long as that is happening. Which means, if we can full deny it, we should continue to make units non-stop. Now there is one caveat. We're up against French. French healing on knights is pretty strong. So if you're up against a really good player and they are microing the knights and they're not losing them, the longer the game goes, the worse for you, because you have no healing. Now, Lancaster has healing, but most civilizations don't. So if you don't have healing and you're fighting against French or JD, it kind of sucks and the longer the game goes, and long feudal is therefore very good for French. They get more villagers and they have knights that can heal. So at some point, you probably want to castle. This landmark here is very matchup specific. It can make it so that you don't need to castle, but for this example, I do castle H. Whether that's a habit or what it is, I think it's just in general a good idea to do against French. You want to thread the needle, of course, and not die to an all-in right after. Now, we have obolars and spears. They're denying, right? They're denying the resources, and the obolars, they're very good against ranged units, right? They have 3 ranged armor, and they do 14 damage, so nice counter damage there. They are fast. They're really good at dealing with it. Plus, they only cost 90. They're cheaper than yeomen. They cost 90 resources. Yeomen cost 95. So this is a very spammable unit as well. You can make a lot of these bad boys. They take 15 seconds to make. And in the Castle Age, you get the upgrade to obolars that make it even faster. I think they produce 8 seconds or something. So, he has Knights Archers. We have Spear Obolar. We have a Lord here giving us 5% extra HP. Nice. What's going on right now is basically just we are denying resources, and we can continue to try to choke our opponent out here. He's going to be on berries. He's going to be on gold. So it's not going to be like an end game, basically, now. Like, it's not over. But we can still try to take good trades here, block our opponent. So what I think the next stage here is to start to take our own pocket risks. We want to get out of the deer. And we specifically want to get out to the front deer here because it's easier for us to defend that deer than it is to defend one in the back. So this is the difference between playing wide and playing narrow. Playing wide makes you way more susceptible to harassment, whereas playing very narrow makes it less so. And this is also going to make it so that we don't need as many towers and walls. If we just have all of our defensive units in one position here, we have our woodline, we have a gold, we have our deer all together, then we just need spears there, and we are essentially not harassable. Here we take a good trade. This is very nice for us. A good trade like this means that we can do something with it. So I can keep making units if I want to, and just make 100% sure that my opponent never gets these deer. That would be a correct play. Another correct play to do would be to go up and then just upgrade the units or go knights or crossbows or whatever, right? You have a lot of options. Some more good trades here. Take out a couple more knights. And here at about 12 minutes, I'm going to start the H-up. So now we go for a raid. This is one of the ways to go for this transition. So when you're going to go for Castle Age, you need to raid. You need to make it so that your opponent is focused on their base and not yours. Because, and we're going to quickly go into paint here. So, if, and my webcam is not here, let's see, can I get it on? There we are. So, if we have a map like this, let's get away from these hoofs. If we have a map like this, where do we want to be when we're Hing up? If we're looking at our opponent's base, we have a couple of things we want to deny. We want to deny these deer, and we want our opponent to run to these berries and these gold. This gold. Once this gold runs out, he has to go here, or he has to burn my tower. Cool. That's one timing where we can full deny that, and then he's starved, basically. If we do that, we win the game. Another timing is, okay, I H up. I want to get next tech. I want to get tier 3 units. I want to get upgrades on my existing tier 2 units. And so if I've denied this for long enough, I've taken good enough trades, then by staying in this position here and just circling my opponent by raiding the back line, like this, the moment I H up, let's say he has enough to take a fight, then there's going to be like a good 20 seconds, 30 seconds all the way back to my base, and we know upgrades take 1 minute. And so already there, do I now have a really good advantage if he sees that I'm H3 and pushes out and I'm in front of his base. Because if he's here, if my opponent's army is in front of my base and I'm sitting passive in my base like this, the moment he sees me H'd up, even if he doesn't see it coming, now there's a banner that says Ves Valdemar just H'd up. I know I have more units because he just spent 1800 resources on H'ing up. So why the hell would I not just go in and kill him? Because he's waiting a whole minute now for upgrades. Well, that's how you die. So, be threatening, be raiding constantly, be in the back of your opponent's base, and then make life misery with your units. Be as effective as you can this way. Let me switch this up. Cool. So now we are denying this. We're going to start going for the next H. We've secured our deers. We're making a tower here. I recommend making a tower in the front here just for vision. It can be nice so you can avoid raids that come directly. Notice how we're now denying this gold. And we're now going to displace his army again. All of his units moved into the back here. This is nice. Now we're going to H up. So now we get all the deer income, which is very high. And we are getting the berry here. We're getting the gold. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to H up and then I'm going to condense my economy. This is a pretty good move to do. I'm going to take these berry bills here, I'm going to H up here, and I'm going to take these wood units and move them over to this wood line. That means that even if I have smaller force, then it's going to be easier for me to defend one area than it is going to be to defend multiple. So, move here, move the wood line, and now we see the knights. They're raiding. Cool. I'm going to go raiding again with the Oblars, but if he wants to raid me, I'm going to make myself unharassable by moving my vills now. So, preparing stables, I have 3 of them. I can make knights, I can make more oblars. I raid my opponent on the backline here. This will often, if you're facing lower level players, actually also up to the semi-pro level, force the semi-pro, if it's threatening enough, to go back and deal with this raid. If it's threatening enough and it's causing enough havoc, a raid like this, especially if it's like knights or something, will force your opponent's hand. Then you can direct and control your opponent where they want to go, where you want them to go. But if it's not threatening enough, like let's say it's just Feudal Oblars, then your opponent will maybe continue to raid. So yeah, now we've moved our economy. Our whole economy is inside one screen here. This is our entire economy. If we lose this, and our opponent has more, and we just lose all of our bills here, we lose the game, obviously. But if we are aware of how many units there are, and we feel pretty good, then this is really easy to defend. So now, essentially, to win this game, I have a defensive force of spears, I have a harassment force, and an offensive force to deny deers. So I'm gonna have some of these units go back, because he's still raiding me. I don't want to throw everything at him. I've got these oblasts here. I'm gonna take some of these units and move them forward. Come on. Okay, monastery. He comes around the back line, there's nothing. Notice that? Here. This is my second group, so now I have 3 groups. Cool. With 3 groups, I now have an offensive force, a harassment force, and a defensive force. This is where you don't use types of units for groups. You want to use, what should I call it? Different sort of actions or utility or whatever for those groups, right? You have a defensive purpose for these units, you have an offensive here, and another offensive. So now, to go between these, I'm just cycling like this, making sure all my commands are coming through. So now that I'm raiding here, I'm going to attack in the front as well. And then when he comes around my wood line here, my gold and my deers, then he's not going to be able to harass me. So I catch him off guard here on the wall. I catch his scouts here, and then he can't raid me. Everything is perfectly positioned because my condensed economy and his wide economy that I can just harass from many angles. So there's really not much for him to do in this situation. And that's how you finish off someone who's now too spread out too thinly, who's got a game on their hands that is just out of control. You punish them by denying resources, not killing villagers. Denying resources, resources, resources. This is what Donardi's just been telling me non-stop in these videos while he's analyzing with me. And if it's not clicking for you, think about this. Get it implemented. It's so important. You want to use this, especially when you have these matchups that are very difficult on map control, that are typically pro-scout matchups. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. If you have any thing you would like to add to this subject, this topic of harassment and denying resources and playing condensed economies, leave a comment in the comment section. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.